Buenos días, sean todos y todas bienvenidas a este espacio el día de hoy. Mi nombre es Zulma Cujunova, yo soy profesora del Departamento de Epidemiología Clínica y Bioestadística de la Universidad Javeriana y para mí es un placer estar el día de hoy presentando este evento con la doctora Catalina González. Catalina, ¿quisieras presentarte?
Muchas gracias, Zulma. Un gusto estar aquí con ustedes. Soy profesora asociada de la Facultad de Medicina de la Universidad de los Andes. Tengo el placer de coliderar la iniciativa que vamos a estar presentándoles el día de hoy. Soy la directora de internacionalización de la Vicerrectoría de Investigación y Creaciones de la Universidad de los Andes también.
Muchas gracias, Catalina. Y justamente hoy estamos iniciando este proyecto que tiene por nombre TRACE, Latinoamérica y el Caribe. Y este proyecto lo que busca durante los siguientes 3 años es generar herramientas y soluciones de software de código abierto para América Latina y plantear soluciones para análisis epidemiológico y respuesta en salud pública ante nuevas epidemias y pandemias en el futuro. Y por eso hoy nos acompaña uno de los equipos, de los grandes equipos que conforman esta estrategia a nivel global, que es el equipo de Epiverse y de Data.org. Y Catalina, ¿te gustaría presentar a las personas que estarán con nosotros hoy?
Claro que sí, hoy están con nosotros Ibrahim Magu, él es el director del programa de Epiverso. Y tiene una experiencia de más de 10 años apoyando el aceleramiento de la innovación en sectores públicos y privados. Antes de unirse a Data.org, hizo parte de UNICEF y de sus iniciativas con gobiernos para poder apalancar el desarrollo de software y open data que pudiera permitir aportar a los servicios públicos. También nos acompaña Perry Hewitt. Ella es Chief Marketing Officer, también dentro de Data.org, y trabaja en la intersección entre mercadeo y la estrategia digital. Le apasiona poder estar en proyectos que tengan alto impacto, que permitan sostenibilidad en muchas áreas del conocimiento. Entonces, creo que ya podemos darles la palabra.
Adelante, Ibrahim y Perry. The room is yours.
Thank you so much. So can people hear me? Thank you for that lovely introduction as well, which I understood almost all of in Spanish. It's a pleasure to be here and an honor to be in Bogota and at the university here today. So my name is Perry Hewitt, as they said, and I'm with the Chief Marketing Officer on Product at Data.org. And today I'm really excited just to say a few words about Data.org before kicking it off to my far better informed colleague, Ibrahim Magu. So Data.org is a platform for partnerships, building the field of data science for social impact. And we do that in 3 ways. We elevate great use cases, which tell the stories of people using data and technology to advance social impact. We build capacity, which is how do we think about building a world in which data science is done differently and better, and not only in Palo Alto, Silicon Valley, Boston, or New York, but globally. And how do we deliver and co-create product created globally that can really deliver meaningful, culturally aware, connected social impact? And finally, we focus on the commons. How do we build tools, resources, thought leadership, ideas that empower the global field to build data science for social impact in a way that's inclusive and globally co-created? And I'm proud to say our Epiverse initiative, which is funded generously by the Wellcome Trust, the Rockefeller Foundation, and today we announced a new partnership with IDRC. Our Epiverse initiative really personifies that third leg of the stool, our focus on creating a commons of open, shared infrastructure in order to fuel pandemic prevention and response. We see the future after COVID-19, hopefully there will be a very soon after COVID-19, we see the future as really predicated on the ability to work together on these open shared infrastructure in order to eliminate the amount of duplication, to maximize the amount of discovery, and to ensure that solutions are globally created and globally shared. We believe the first use case for this kind of open source digital shared infrastructure is pandemic prevention and response. but we at data.org have high hopes for this kind of approach to scale to tackle some of society's most pressing problems. And with that, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Ibrahim Magoub. Thank you again for having us here today.
Thank you, Perry, and thank you once again, Zulma and Catalina, for this wonderful...
Many thanks, Perry. And now, Ibrahim, the room is yours.
Thank you, Zulma and Catalina. And I also wanted to extend our thanks to the professors and students and partners that participated in today's meeting. Today is a big moment for Epiverse as a global initiative, and we're very happy to welcome University of Javeriana and University of Los Angeles to the community. Can I check really quickly? Are you able to hear me? Perry, Zulma, are you able to hear me?
Yes, doctor, we can hear you. And when you need your presentation, tell to us and we will share it for you.
Yes, can we share it now, please? Perfect. Next slide, please. So once again, colleagues, partners, and friends, greetings, wherever you're joining us from. This project aims to respond to the great challenges highlighted by COVID-19, but even before the pandemic, there is a great unrealized yet potential for data to strengthen health systems and enable us to be prepared for a public health crisis and also to respond effectively. Next slide, please. So right now there is a variety of amazing efforts around the world by individual organizations and teams, some bilateral initiatives that are usually focused on very specific contexts. And the aim is usually to develop the technology that is needed to respond right now to the situation at hand. While this is essential and could be viewed by some as inevitable, there is still an opportunity for us as a global community to be able to build on each other's success. And that's what we're trying to do at Epiverse, working together with our partners at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, the MRCG unit in the Gambia, and today we're very, very excited that Javeriana and Los Andes have joined this global initiative, taking the lead on implementing and developing these tools in the Latin America and the Caribbean region. Next slide, please. Another time. Thank you. So from our perspective at data.org, Epiverse is divided into three key components. The first and most important is Epiverse TRACE. So those of you who are able to attend the meeting today, you heard from the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, as well as the strong academic teams in University of Javeriana and Los Andes, what they have planned in terms of designing and developing very open and collaborative and generalizable tools that everybody can use. And that's what TRACE is. And from our perspective at data.org, we really believe in this effort and the ability of our building partners to deliver exactly those tools. The second pillar is Epiverse BUILD, and that's comprised of a series of global challenges and calls to action. This is where we hope to bring the power of the community to some of the thematic challenges that keep coming up in the space. And I'll speak to an example of that very shortly. And last but not least, the third component is Epiverse CONNECT. And that's where we aim to build on the existing mapping effort and all of the amazing resource libraries out there that tell you which open tools are being used in which areas of epidemic preparedness and response. So we aim there to curate that information, add to it, and allow for easier visualization and access to that type of information. Next, please. Great. So from our end at data.org, we are going to be focusing our support to the academic partners on engaging the global health community. If you were able to attend the meeting, you may have heard about the potential collaboration with WHO and similar agencies. And the objective of these collaborations is really to ensure that these tools are developed in alignment with the needs of the field and that they're as easy to deploy as possible. And we'll also leverage data.org's network to expose these tools to a larger audience, especially health ministries, to be able to get as much feedback on these tools as possible. And last but not least, we will continue working with the academic partners on facilitating access to financial and technical resources to accelerate the development of these tools and make it even easier for users around the world to be able to implement them and contribute to them. Next slide, please. Another time. And for the global challenge, we're going to be launching in September a privacy preservation contest leveraging a synthetic data set from one of data.org's partners, that is MasterCard. And the objective of the challenge is to showcase the enhanced privacy preservation technique, as well as generate some relevant insight for epidemiology. Next slide, please. So we'll be launching the call in September. Right now, we're working with our partners, and I'm really grateful for the epidemiological guidance from University of Javeriana, Los Andes, and the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. And what we're trying to do right now is frame the challenge and figure out potential use cases for MasterCard's data. And then there will be a call for applications where teams around the world can apply to show improvement on the privacy preservation tools available, and also generate insight for epidemic preparedness and response, particularly in Latin America. Next slide, please. Last but not least, Epiverse CONNECT is a data visualization tool that will allow partners and the community to identify existing resources, standards that could help advance this work and inform partnerships making and investment decisions. Next slide, please. This is the network of partners that are supporting this work. As Perry mentioned, it's funded by the Rockefeller Foundation, IDRC, Sloan Foundation, and the Wellcome Trust. And we're very happy and excited to be working with the strong academic teams, as I mentioned, University of Javeriana and Los Andes, and the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, and their MRCG unit in the Gambia. Epiverse as a program also is engaging a wide range of fora and community groups, such as the Digital Public Goods Alliance, which supports countries around the world to use open source and open data and innovative solutions like Epiverse, as well as the Global Pandemic Data Alliance, where we are advocating for the use of more open tools and open standards like the ones we're working with in Epiverse. And other networks that potentially present a lot of useful engagement opportunities for the partners involved in this project. Next slide, please. And this is an overview of the Epiverse Advisory Council. It's really a group of experts from a wide range of fields and walks of life, from infectious disease to data science and privacy preservation. And they really represent a great mix of organizations and key players. And at data.org, we're committed to continue to convene as wide as possible and a group to support this work and be as inclusive as possible and welcoming contributions from everybody. Next slide, please. And this is a quick look at our team. Very grateful for all of their support, and we are lucky to have developed experience in a wide range of fields that are perfectly relevant for Epiverse, between technology, entrepreneurship, philanthropy, and education. And equally important, we're committed at data.org to supporting the work of the academic partners and advocating for it and ensuring that we open as many avenues as possible to make this work accessible for countries, especially those of low and middle income. Next slide, please. Thank you. If there are any questions, I would be very, very happy to address them. At the end, I want to thank University of Javeriana and University of Los Andes again for organizing this event and giving us this opportunity. Really big moment for this project and for us that you're doing this effort. I thank you all for your time and for those of you who joined us today in the event. Back to you, Zulma and Catalina.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ibrahim, for this great presentation. We'll like perhaps to start like a little bit of a discussion with some of the questions that have been sent by some of the participants on this StreamYard, on this streaming. And so perhaps should we start, Catalina, on how, for example, data.org, one of the questions we have, how data.org has came to the idea, for example, of starting with Colombia as a way of integrating low and middle income countries, and what have seen you on the work being done in Colombia, or how does that has happened to for you? How have you seen the work being done in Colombia, and perhaps the needs, and what's your opinion on how better integrate developing countries into this initiative?
Thank you. This is a great question. And from our perspective, Epiverse is not just about the tools, but also about the capacity to be able to create them and use them and add to them. And Colombia is clearly of interest in that regard, given that there is a huge demand for this kind of tool that the two universities are working on, and it made perfect sense for us to join that effort and support as much as we can, given the academic partners' track record in supporting epidemic preparedness and response, and there was enough evidence that these tools will be designed and implemented in a way that's open and collaborative, and will benefit not just Colombia, where they are developed and deployed, but also other countries that have similar needs. Does that cover the question, Zulma and Catalina?
Excellent. Thank you so much, Ibrahim. And we really are looking forward to start this collaboration.
If I may, Ibrahim, what would be a very good example for you from the perspective of data work that we've managed to reach some of the objectives that you mentioned? What would be a good milestone in the short term and in the long term?
Wow, great question again. You're really testing me here. I think one objective of mine is to see the tools that we're working on together being used at district level and even zip code level. And I think there is a great potential, especially for developing tools related to service delivery. I noticed there is a lot of demand for this type of tool, especially where I come from, in Egypt, for example, in Africa, more broadly, and I think there is a great potential to be able to service that demand and benefit from your experience in that field.
Thank you, Ibrahim. Perhaps I would like to ask Perry about something that is part of our project, the initiative, but Ibrahim, perhaps I would like, but hasn't been. There is so much work to do on that side of our work, which is how do you envision through this initiative to break the gender gap, for example, and in your experience would be like, which steps are the more important in terms of getting into equality in terms of gender?
Hey everyone, thank you for teeing that up. So gender equality is one of the big priorities with the Epiverse initiative, as it is with our Capacity Accelerator initiative, because we see a better data science being a more inclusive data science. How we get there is a tricky question. I think one of the key assumptions that people always make is you can just port something and change it, sort of, you take an existing program and communicate it to another audience. Say, okay, this worked with high income, white male, global north participants. So we're just going to slap that into the global south and translate it into another language with no cultural translation, just literal word for word translation. And we're going to really hope that works. I think we have enough proof points to show that has not been successful. One of the things, particularly around gender, that I think has been successful is tying the instruction of data literacy up to data science to the impact it can achieve. So rather than having it all be very abstract, sort of learning for learning's sake, technology for technology's sake, really showing clear examples. And I think in our work in the Capacity Accelerator Initiative with the University of Chicago, they are going to be very focused on helping people identify real-world problems that data can solve and make that an entry point. So I know we'll have terrific researchers doing a lot of evidence-based approaches and a lot of iteration to make sure we have the right approach. But I think those will necessarily be components. One, don't just translate for a different audience. Make sure that you've fundamentally changed to bring in the right people and to engage them throughout the process. And two, to really think about what is the impact of the work and tie that to the instruction in a tighter way. Thank you.
Thank you, Perry. Very inspiring, thinking of those things coming all together to break this gender gap. So perhaps a very last important topic to talk about is on the different funders that are part of the Epiverse initiative. And in some sense, it shows to me personally the interest from different partners, different sides of the world that are interested on really making real strengthening the capacities in low and middle income countries. And I would like to hear a little bit of how these different funders from very different parts of the world have came together to join a concrete initiative.
If I may add, what was the turning point there? How did they all come together? Because Data.org has a very different, if I may say, spirit behind this. So I completely agree with Sulma's remarks. So,
well, let Ibrahim in a moment to the Epiverse specifics, but generally about Data.org, I would say our positioning as a platform for partnership has really come at the right moment. So I think what we're seeing now is global interconnected challenges. COVID-19 is one example. The climate is certainly another, where it's not so easy to parse out, this is a problem for the private sector. This is a problem for philanthropy. Government needs to go fix this one. I think people are seeing that without interconnecting the solutions to these systems and interconnections among the actors who are wreaking these solutions. So without government working with philanthropy, working with the private sector, that we cannot construct adequate solutions to challenge these global interconnected problems. So Data.org had been thinking along this direction for years, but sort of with the launch of these programs in 21-22 really became the right place at the right time. And we are very committed to working with our funding partners and working with our building partners to ensure that there's clear communication, clear endpoints and goals, and that we're forging productive partnerships with really tangible outcomes. So Ibrahim?
Thanks, Perry, and well said. I would add to that especially in the case of Epiverse, we're lucky to be able to build on progress that has been made over the years by the global health community in terms of identifying standards, synchronizing efforts between funders and donors. And so what I see in the global health space is a lot more clarity in terms of the requirements for an innovation to work. And so we hope that we'll be able to use that, working with you and the other partners in the program to kind of bring everybody on board, because the aim of this set of tools that we're building is to be as easily adoptable and useful for everyone. And so for anybody interested in or working on epidemic preparedness and response, I think we have an opportunity to engage them, and luckily for us, the timing is perfect, as Perry said.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim and Perry. It's a real honor for us as our researchers, and also to our universities, Javeriana and Uniandes, to have you on both and the whole team of Data.org and Epiverse on this project, to be part of it. And so thank you so much for being with us today. And we are really much looking forward to strengthening these capacities for data analytics, open source code tools for analytics and epidemiology, and strengthening the public health response to epidemics.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you everyone who has joined today. Have a great day.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Great, thank you.